So today actually we are discussing about uninterrupted faith, and I know this topic is something that we normally don't discuss, but it is going to be something different and something, at least one thing that you will learn from this 40 minutes live. So maybe we'll just get started. Okay, so we have Abby with us now, and I know you all are excited to know who Abby is. Hi, Abby. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Cool. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's been ages. Like, we've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, actually, I kept reminders in my phone just that I don't forget because, I'm so excited. When you get too excited for things, you remember, and then at the last moment, you just forget them. So I'm really happy.
I was the same. I kept putting reminders. Like, every time I check my calendar, like, is it today?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Abby. So I like my audience will definitely want to know who Abi Loryman is. So please tell about yourself.
So, yeah, my name's Abi Loryman. I'm currently living in London. I work in London as well. And yeah, I don't know how much Sanchita has already said to you, but I've just recently written a book called Uninterrupted Faith. So that was a little project. That was a little myself to do, and I think during the quarantine period, that's when I sort of like sat down and really got to work on it. But yeah, so I'm based in London. I've been in London now for a year. I was in another city before, so I'm loving London. I'm loving the busy and
Superb.
the city. Yeah.
Awesome. So what got you, what gave you the kick to write this book? Why Uninterrupted Faith?
So it used to happen a lot. I think sometimes I'll find that when you're traveling, public transport, or you just walking around in shops and you start talking to people. I found that every time I talk to someone, people would just start telling me their life stories, and I would just sit there. Wow, okay. I would sit there and just know so much about someone in such a short space of time. So I noticed like sometimes people will come to me with like very differing stories about what they've experienced, the hardships, times that they've struggled in life. And the common theme I got there was every time someone spoke to me, they were sort of wanting to get sort of like reassurance or affirmation that life will get better or life can get better. So I think at the time it was maybe they just wanted a listening ear. But the thing I got was, okay, I really hope this thing works out. But when I actually got into it, was so I've grown up in a Christian family. So there was once I went to church and I was sat in church and I was listening to the speaker, and he was telling a story of this particular woman in the Bible, and she went through it, and she went through all the struggles and everything like that. But for me, it was her resilience that really like inspired me. And regardless of whatever she was going through and what society was saying about her, she had a goal in mind. She was believing and having faith to achieve that goal, and she went for it regardless of what people said. So that's why I called it uninterrupted faith. So like, when you're focusing on wanting to achieve something, go after it without being interrupted by what other people might say to you or about you.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And these things, sometimes they're not planned. They just happen. You have that faith on yourself. And, maybe 2 months back, you wouldn't have thought that, you will actually have so much faith on yourself on exploring a new road. But then somehow you know that, if you just give in to this thing, you are going to achieve it. So I think that is something humans are really capable of. And I think that's really appreciable. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like the idea of sometimes when you're going through stuff, we're so used to solving solutions with things that we can actually see, like tangible objects. If I do this and that, this is what will happen. But I want to explore the idea of what happens when the solution is abstract, when you can't actually see it. And I was trying to look at the ability to sort of like focus on a goal and not just merely focus it, but expect that goal to happen. So I was looking at faith, and expectation put together. Because when you're expecting something, you start to move in a way that is in accordance with what you're, looking to achieve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same way that I always give this example of, like, if a woman's pregnant, she hasn't seen the baby yet, but she starts to make those preparations for what is yet to come, even though she hasn't seen it. So that's what I'm trying to play out with uninterrupted faith, being able to expect what you're actually believing for and start to move in a way that corresponds with what you're expecting.
Yes, yes. And sometimes, we have this drive to do things only to achieve something. And I think at the end, you may not even feel happy achieving it. It's just that the process that makes you so happy.
That is the journey. It's the journey. I think the most growth for me, I think, has been, okay, now I've written the book. It's here, so great. But it's actually the process of writing it, because even when I was writing it, I was going through a lot of challenges, like times when I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm talking about having faith and, focusing. But there's situations that came my way at the time that I'm like, I don't know if I can actually have faith, or it's that period where each season or whatever experience you're going through is actually preparing you for a version of you that you haven't even met. Today,
Yeah.
and tomorrow that thing has taught you to be a different person tomorrow and to respond to things differently the next time or something like that. So it's definitely, you're right, it's definitely the process as opposed to just the end journey.
Yes, yes, yes. And I just request all the audience, if you have any kind of, even curiosity about how faith works and, how unconsciously we drive towards faith, you can always just put up it in the comments, and I'm sure Abby will love to talk
Definitely.
about it.
It would be cool. It would be really cool, because that's what I've been wanting to do. In the book, I actually get people to speak about their experiences. So it was not just from me. So it would be really good if people could, write down what they think, and when we can explore it and talk about it. Because, yeah, that's, for me, I'm learning as well. It's not just something I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so good at this, but I'm just learning.
So I just wanted to know one thing, Abby, because when we actually planned on having, a live, the first thing I went to your profile and I just checked, like, who is this woman? Who is she? Like, so I was just checking, and then I saw your book, and then I read about your book, and I was really happy because, and I did take some time because, actually I am very driven by faith on myself. And I believe in constructing a society that has, it is a high trust society, because we lack this right now. We are not a high trust society right now, because you can't leave your bag outside and just move and come back and expect it to be there. That is a very simple example of high trust society. So I just wanted, even in my writings, I always try to put out things that people can, they drive towards a high trust society. And when I saw your book on uninterrupted faith, I knew that, I can have this discussion only with you, because we match on that level. Yeah. So the main thing here is, do you think faith is something that comes from spiritualism, like connecting to oneself, or is it something based on a religion, and is it something like that?
I think it can be both. I think if you look at it from like an origin perspective, it is sort of like a religious construct, if you get me, the word itself. But I think you'll find that there's people who as an example, people who may believe in God or whatever, or who don't, they still have that faith, or in our current society we'll probably call it hope. So I think it can be both. I personally advocate a lot of, I do believe in God and I have faith in God, but I also advocate a lot of faith in yourself, because faith doesn't just work, it just doesn't work based on, the person that you're believing in or whatever you have to play a part yourself. So if you want to achieve that, you have to be able to believe in yourself to be able to do that, because it's not just the job of the other person. You can have faith in people for them to do their part, but you have to do your part as well. So I think it's both.
Yes, 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 definitely. And also, yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's more about spiritualism because I'm not a very religious person. It doesn't mean that I don't believe in God, but it's just that, somehow I just don't get to think of God in the toughest times. I first try to deal it myself. But there are people, who sometimes tell to God, like, why do you do this with me? Or sometimes they are really happy about what they have in life and thank God for. I do thank God, though. I really thank God for giving me, the best things in life. I think they are the really best things for me. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, I think it's partial again because we cannot really divide religion and spiritualism.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, but like I said, this is something that and I was actually quite excited to talk about this with you because I feel like I would learn quite a bit. But this is something that I've just been working on myself, and I can really, really see the power of having that faith in your person, in you, like, because sometimes when if you not many people may have faith in you, so imagine what would happen if even you don't have faith in you. What
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna be disaster. So yeah, no, I agree with you on that one.
Yes, yes. And the thing about faith is that, sometimes we really feel low, but it is only us who can pull us back to normal place. Like,
Yeah,
even though you have the best people around you, I don't know about depression, but in a normal situation, it is only you who can help yourself, not somebody else who can come and just mentor you and take you out of it.
definitely. I think, like you said, I think from a mental health perspective, that's we're probably I'm not qualified to speak about that, so I can't really say that part. But like, I totally agree with what you're saying that it's us. I always say like the experiences that people have been through, or if somebody has hurt you, that's not your fault, right? But how you
Yes.
get out of that is your responsibility. You can choose to keep those people in your life, or you can choose not to, but it is your responsibility because your happiness is your responsibility. Do you know what I mean? So whatever situation that you're going through, you have the capacity to define the life that you want for yourself, and it's up to you to create that life and move towards it or not. It's up to you.
Yeah. And also there are, I have seen many people personally who don't prioritize their happiness first. They prioritize, obviously, family is important, your loved ones are important, but I think it is necessary to be happy internally first to spread happiness.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what? Like, you can't give what you don't have. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
If you're not happy, how are you going to give someone else happiness? Even when you say, think about it. When you're on the plane and they're telling you the instructions of what would happen in an emergency, they first say, put the mask on yourself before you do it on someone else. Because
Yeah.
in the position to save yourself, how are you going to save someone else? Do you know what I mean? So definitely, like I said, you can't spread happiness if you don't have it. You can't give love if you've got none to give. So you have
Yes.
to first search within. You have to evaluate yourself and be content with yourself before you can. It even applies to like relationships. How
Yes.
how you give and take in relationships like that. If when people are saying like, oh, this person completes me, and I'm like, I mean, like, but I always say that person should be complimenting you, not completing you. Because if you come into that relationship incomplete, you'll be putting a lot more pressure on the other person to fulfill that they shouldn't be. You should have come in that situation. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, no, I'm not here to complete no one. I'm here to compliment someone. So coming together as two holes to make fire.
Oh, yes, yes. I actually believe firmly in this because initially I wasn't this way. It wasn't like I was an unhappy person, but then, I used to boss myself to get things done. I saw myself in a certain perspective after 1 year and I wanted to be that. So when you're in this drive to skill up and, be a person that you imagine yourself to be, there is a lot of pressure on you. And then when you look out for happiness, you look from outside than looking from inside.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a real mess up because I realized that, I'm actually troubling people for no reason.
Yes.
Initially, I was very agitated because, like, why are you there if in my life if you can't make me happy? But then I realized it's not their job.
A job. No, no, your happiness must come from within. And 100%, I agree with that, because the moment we start to place our level of happiness on somebody else, life is just gonna be your life is gonna be so inconsistent, because that person might not be consistent with your happiness.
Yes.
How can you entrust someone your happiness in someone else's hands? Entrust it with yourself first, then you'll be able to handle somebody else's and yours, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely, it all
All,
start with you.
yeah. Also, this applies to, I have seen, for example, I had one of my friend who was in deep trouble. She had some mental issues. She couldn't handle the pressure. She broke out easily. She'll just start crying suddenly because of the emotional imbalance she was having. And then she started abusing her partner because he wasn't supportive of her. But then, initially everyone accused the partner for not supporting rather than thinking that he's actually a normal human being. You can't expect him to understand what other person is going through. He can only support you, but he
Yeah,
cannot heal you.
yeah. I think
So,
empathize, but sometimes you can empathize, and the things, okay, fair enough, I understand that, there she was looking for support, and of course it is expected, it will be expected to support, but you can never fully understand what somebody is going through, and sometimes it can be frustrating for the person going through it, like, why don't you understand what I'm going through? And even though we're trying, we won't fully get it, because maybe we've not been through that, so we can only empathize. You know what, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I'll do the best I can to support you. But the issue is when we expect that person to completely fulfill all of our needs, all of our desires. That's when the issue starts, because we get frustrated, we frustrate them, we're both frustrated, everybody gets frustrated.
yes. And we have a question from Ranjini. She's asking, is Abby a writer by profession and what drove her to write this book? Yeah.
Oh, hey, no, I'm actually not a writer. I work for a housing organization, actually, as a business change analyst. And what drove me to write the book? I think when I decided to write that book, I was actually going through my own experiences where I was sort of like doubting myself, doubting the position I was at in life. Like you were saying earlier, you want to be there and you get frustrated because, oh, I just want to get there now, but I felt like I wasn't. And sometimes you do go through life and think, okay, everything that you're seeing, like, okay, if I've got a headache, I know I can get paracetamol and drink it, and do you know what I mean, and that's the remedy for that. But like sometimes there's certain emotions that you go through that you're just thinking, how do I get rid of this? Do you know? And so like for me it was more comparing the idea that we've got all these concrete remedies for things that we go through, but what happens because our emotions are abstract, so how can we resolve that using abstract methods? So that's why I was looking at faith and mindset and expectation, things like that put together, like how can I use those things to work with me and for me to push myself forward. So that's really what drove me. And again, like I said earlier, it was speaking to a lot of different people that would just speak to me. They would go through, and sometimes it would be like about, people a lot older than us, like marriage issues and things like that. And they'll talk to me about it. And at the time, I think I was fairly young. I was like, I don't know why you're telling me this, but okay. But it was just being able to listen. And I thought, like, every time I spoke to that person, I'm like, okay, at one point or another, I was that person. I've been through the sort of like what they're feeling or that emotion they're feeling. So I just started to put those different experiences together. And the reason I put them together was to show that, what I'm going through, somebody else might think, oh, am I the only one going through this? But there's somebody else who's going through it. But like, how do they deal with it? How can I, so that's why the different stories are in there, so that people don't just look at my story. I want them to be able to relate to different people and their experiences. So that's how Uninterrupted Faith came through.
That's super. Really. I'm happy and I really want to read that book. I will read that book. Yeah. So the next thing is, do you think that we tend to be with people? For example, if I am a person who believes in a certain kind of faith in myself and I have a different practice unconsciously, do I tend to make friends who have the same kind of faith practices?
I think it's on the surface, it's the normal thing to do. If you get me, it's what attracts you first. You could be more comfortable if you see somebody who's got the same mentality. You're like, oh, I'm going to speak to that person. So it's the first thing you do initially. I think it's a reflex. We all do. But I also think, for me, I try to diversify like the people that I interact with, because there's so much you can learn from people. Because if you're always say, I mean, you can grow together with the same mindsets, etc., but you have to be able to elevate. And so there's somebody who might have a completely different outtake or outlook on life, and they come speak to you and they're like, I never thought of it like that. But at that point you're like, oh, okay. So it doesn't necessarily mean you change the way you think about things or you completely alter it. You're just taking information to develop what you know, or to maybe change things that you know, or unthink things or unlearn things you thought were right. So I think initially you do gravitate towards people who have the same mentality, same mindset. But I think it's important to have different variations, like variations of people around you, to just pick out. And that way you learn to choose who you keep in your life or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And that also leads to a very progressive mindset, because the more different kind of people you meet, I think you are genuinely more okay with things that happen than struggle with accepting things.
Yeah.
Especially for me, in India we have many states. So I belong to another state, but I was born and brought up in other. And then I was inbuilt with so many changes that I see in people in different states, and I was naturally very accepting of it. But then, some of my colleagues really suffer accepting other culture because they just can't live with it. It's some mind block that takes time to accept the reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. I think that happens a lot, and it's a protective thing. I think you're also trying to protect your what you know, and in a way trying to also protect your intellect. Because imagine someone coming to tell you, no, actually you're wrong.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I think it's a defense mechanism, because you'll gravitate towards somebody who's the same as you, because they might not challenge you as much, where somebody else might be like, I don't agree with this. So you're forced to then question yourself and question what you thought you knew and things like that. So I think it's we sometimes use that as a defense mechanism. I'm going to go to that person because I'm comfortable. I know them. They won't object to what I think. So it's safe. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
out sometimes and just get those different ideas. You don't have to adopt them, but it's good to learn and to just have that knowledge base and widen that knowledge base.
Yes. And now there's this one question. I actually was reading this book called Sapiens by Yuval. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the author, but the book is Sapiens. And I had this one question in my mind that what he conveyed through the documents that we all have from our ancestors was that religion is something that was actually brought out to make, how do I say this? Okay, when we have a group of 10 to 20 people, it's easy to work together.
Yeah.
When it is 100 people, you learn to manage things and still work together. But when you're a country, when you are in a continent, what holds huge human societies together? So that's when they told that religion came into place to keep people together, because people have, like, even two people have a lot of difference in opinion. Then think about a continent.
No, definitely. I do agree with that idea. I think I mean I'm not so knowledgeable about back in the day what they used to do, but I can see how religion would have been used to sort of like keep people in that space where okay we are agreeing together in this one thing. So I totally get it. But I also feel like today for me personally it's something that has become just personal, like I said. It's a personal thing, and you create. I always say from my perspective, when you go to church, for example, and the preacher can be reading the Bible or whatever, and they're preaching to you, but you're only taking in what they say, which is fine, of course. To know the truth, you have to know. And this is sometimes when people learn the truth and how things were written in context or out of context, that's when mindsets or opinions begin to broaden. And that, I think that's where you're saying people become different and they're like, I didn't agree with that, or I didn't agree with this person. But I think back in the day, I think you're right. It was, people were, they did use, religion and, laws and rules today to keep us confined, not confined, but to keep us in check.
Yes, yes, yes.
Each other every day.
Yes, that is really a thing, and I think that's one way it's good because or else it's not possible, and we would end up killing each other. Yeah. So the next thing is, do you think that the superstitions that we normally have faith on, okay, like not really have faith on, but we tend to do without thinking why we do them, okay? So those kind of superstitions have come way long back from our ancestors, and they have passed the test of time, and now they're here with us and we practice them unconsciously. So do you think that there is really some logic to them, or it's just that a myth or something like that? Yeah.
I think do you know the funny things? I was actually talking to one of my friends about that earlier. Because for me, sometimes I find myself, where they say, don't open your umbrella indoors. I don't do that. The thing is that I wouldn't say I actually feel like something bad will happen, but I just happened to do it. I just don't do that anymore. But like it's been instilled in there, or don't, if I'm walking and there's three like boxes on the floor, like I don't walk across them and stuff like that. But I think in a way we do base our faith on them. I try not to necessarily, but I think they help govern the way we live life in a way. You know what I mean? Because I think that the idea is if you do this, something bad will happen. And obviously you're trying to prevent that from happening. So it does govern the way so the faith, you do put faith on it because you're hoping, okay, if I don't do that, my life will be all right. So it helps govern how you live your life. I think that we have put a lot of faith on those superstitions. Yeah.
Yes.
What
and also, yeah, so what I was thinking is, there are usually times when I think, why do we follow all this? And then there are times I follow the same thing without questioning when it's about me.
I know.
When I see people doing it, I question them easily. Like, why do you follow all these lame things? And then you don't want to take the risk because, why not?
Exactly. It's all the idea that what if I might not believe if I walk under that ladder, what happens? Do you know what I mean? It's always the what if, and that's where the faith is based there, because we're thinking, okay, I need to prevent this from happening. I haven't seen it happening yet, but I just need to prevent it. So yeah, I do catch myself doing that with other people. Like you say, why are you doing that? And then with me, I'm like,
yeah. So then, when we tend to do, for example, I see you as a very confident woman who can speak and, who can express herself, who can demand things when necessary. So I want to know from you, like, what kind of faith should a person install? Like, what kind of faith should anybody have in order to be very confident and to take things up, not like run away from the problem, but just come and face it.
Yeah, what I've been saying to myself is, and I posted something recently. The first thing you have to think of is, you know what, you first of all matter, your life matters, and everything you want to achieve in life matters. So at that point, no one should tell you how big or how small your dreams are. So be confident in that first of all. Secondly, I always say to myself, like, I want to design, I can design the life that I want for myself. And that's the power of imagination. And you see, even when we're doing, even at work, think about it, when you're doing work on a daily basis, you've got projects. The projects are, you plan, you envision what you want the outcome to be. The same, you can apply the same thing to your life. Envision what you want your life to be. And whatever, sometimes life can get hard. Sometimes it's easy to lose confidence in yourself because you've been through something, or somebody has, hurt you in a type of way, and it gets hard. It's understandable. But I just say, the fact that you're here today means you survived yesterday. So you're a survivor, and you can do anything from here going forward. And I always say, from now, stop running away from what you have been saved from. Start running towards what you have been saved for. So whatever experience, whatever you've been through, start running toward what you've come through it. Keep going towards what why you're alive today. You're alive today because there's something that you need to do down the line somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. Your life matters. Your dreams are valid. Your everything about you is so significant that until you start to accept how significant you are. And the things that when you start to accept your significance in yourself, it's so easy for other people to see it. And it's so easy for people to be like, okay, that's a confident person, because you believe in yourself. That's the first thing you have to do. Accept that, whatever I want to achieve, I can do it, and there's no one to stop me. All right.
Yes, 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 definitely. And that actually gives you a happiness, even if you don't achieve. It's okay. Sometimes we tend to fail, but the amount of faith you put on yourself, you know that you can do it again. You can try it and get it done.
Exactly.
Yes.
And even with that, I say, like, even when you fail, that's even when it comes to failure is just saying, okay, what did I not do right? And it's giving you an opportunity to do it correct the next time. Even when you go for a job interview, you get a no, and life says no to you. They say no to you. Think about it as, okay, they've just given me an opportunity to say yes to something better. Do you know what I mean? So don't think about it as, you're being rejected and everything. That's all part and parcel of, the process of getting you to your destination, to the great person that you have the potential to be. So yeah, just have faith in yourself, believe in yourself, and be confident in what you can do and what your mind is capable of.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a very well said thing.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, when you're talking about this, I just thought of one thing. Do you think we tend to see people in the light of how we are?
Huh. So to see them in how we are or how we want them to be? Is that what
No. For example, this is a simple example. For example, when I see you, I see a confident woman. I see a confident woman because I'm confident myself.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, do we tend to see people in the light we are actually? Like,
I think sometimes we do. I think you're right. I think I agree with that bit, but sometimes we see people in the light we aspire to be. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes you can get a person who's not as confident at all, but they'll see you, or they'll see me, and they'll be like, oh my God, she's so confident. Do you know what I mean? But that's probably far from what they actually are themselves, or how they see themselves. But they're seeing something they aspire to be. And so, that's how they'll probably come to you and say, oh my God, you're so confident. And maybe you might even be like, really? But like, that's something that you want to be. But yeah, so sometimes likeness will see each other. Like they say, greatness identifies greatness. And sometimes you find people that who are not necessarily confident will see somebody as somebody they would want to be, not the person, but something they aspire to be.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think this is one of the maybe the core ingredient to a high trust society. Because if I'm going to see you through the light, I think my mindset is going to affect how I judge you.
Yeah.
So imagine if you are a stranger and I'm here and I just need to go to the washroom and I need the bag to be with someone for a minute. So it is about what I think, my mindset depicts what I judge of you. And also there's another factor to the practicality of how you are actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So these two things, when they come together, I think you can actually build a very high trust society where you don't have to worry about, being robbed daylight or, about being cheated. Just being truthful, even if, things will always not go as you plan. There are always times when you are going to be hurt, but then if the other person just comes up front and tells you in a more, peace loving way that, things are not working out, let's just call it quits. I think that kind of approach will lead to a more high trust society. So I just hope that happens
I hope so.
someday.
Hope so. Because do you know what's interesting? I always thought, like, when you're at the airport or something and somebody says, I just need to go, yeah, like you said, can you look after my bag? I used to think, wow, you don't even know me and you want me to look after your bag. I would, it would be great if society was like that. Ideally, it would be really, really amazing. But unfortunately, sometimes we there's a lot that has happened that we're very suspicious of almost everyone. Do you know what I mean? So, and it takes away from our ability to just, unite and integrate and interact with people in a trustworthy manner. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes it's just people's experiences personally means, maybe they've been, I don't know, they've gone through stuff and they apply now their experience to absolutely everybody. Because I went through this, that means it would do the same to me, or you would do the same to me. And, and that's not always the case. But unfortunately, that's what's happened. And I really wish we could live in the life, in a world like that, where we can just, here's my bag, oh, here's my wallet, here's my purse.
Yes. So, Abby, tell me something. Do you think there is a solution to this? Do you think, for example, now, as you said, once we get cheated or let down by someone, it's very hard to trust any other person. So, how can we overcome that? How can we put our guard down and just accept them how they are without any baggage?
I think it would, for me, I think it would be trust. Trust is, you earn trust. It just doesn't come like that. And you earn it by looking at how people interact and how people behave. And people always say, like, oh, have integrity. Integrity means, for example, in a workplace, doing what you said you're going to do. And sometimes it could be small things like, oh, in a relationship, for example, oh, I was going to do this and then you didn't. And it starts really small. But when they pile up, it has the ability to really, really hit on your trust ability or trust levels. So I think sometimes it's important to acknowledge that, okay, if say, for example, in a relationship perspective, have a conversation and say, you know what, speak about these things that are causing you to have that sort of lack of trust for someone. And also, commit to, commit to doing right by those people. It doesn't mean, I don't know, it doesn't mean be extra or whatever, but just commit to being true and commit to integrity, commit to that. And sometimes that's the thing, people just want commitment to trust. And when you can commit to being honest, saying the thing, I'm going to do the things I'm going to do. And in a work environment, that's, leadership. People will follow a leader that they trust, or follow a leader who's got a vision for themselves, and a vision that benefits themselves and somebody else as well. So like when you can trust someone like that, you're able to follow them quite easily. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you're having those doubts, but then again, a leader communicates things that they plan to do to the person or the people that they're leading. So that's what I'm saying. Trust is all about communication. You have to be able to communicate that stuff. And sometimes if I saw you, for example, out there, after having a conversation with you, I feel like I can actually trust you to say, I'm looking after my bag, because I've had that interaction with you and been able to gauge the type of person that you are. I mean, I might get it wrong, but so I think it's about, you have to communicate that and communicate your doubts. I think sometimes we neglect, we forsake how we actually feel about something, and the other person doesn't know exactly what you're thinking. They'll continue doing it. You'll continue getting frustrated, and unless you speak about it, no one will you will know what's going on.
I think communication is the key to even being cordial with strangers.
Yeah, 100%. How would you reckon we can sort of like deal with this whole trust thing? What's your opinion on that?
I have a lot of trust issues usually because I don't trust people easily. It's not about experience of my own, but it's about the experience people around me have. Because then you tend to think, is this person really okay? And I take years to get trust on somebody. Maybe on petty things I can trust people, but not on talking freely. I do talk. When I talk with people, you might think that I'm actually sharing everything with you, but then the things that have to be hidden are hidden. Yeah. So I think that's fine. I think everybody takes their own time to,
I don't think you should be, just out there spilling absolutely everything. You have to sometimes try and see if you can trust that person with the smallest thing and see how before you can give them the whole of you. Do you know what I mean? So it's not in the big things that people create trust. It's even in the small things. If you did this for me, which is tiny, and you do it, with a genuine heart, I can now trust you with something a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger.
Yes. I really had fun. I had fun talking to you, Abi, and I'm looking forward to another collaboration with you, definitely. Maybe when your second book is launching, maybe. I think it's going. It's behind the scenes, is it?
Yeah, it's in the scenes. So,
superb.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know how it's going, and maybe
Definitely.
you can get some ideas and stuff. So it'll be great.
Yes. And I think our second collaboration together will be after your second book launches. Yes. Thank you, Abby, for taking it up. And I'm really happy to have spent so much time with you talking something really deep and something that actually means to a future society. And I really hope, even if our audience could have gotten, if they've got even one thing right from our discussion, I think the objective of this is
absolutely
done.
Yeah. Exactly. No, thank you so much for having me. It was really, really good fun. I think I told you before that I don't do lives that well.
You were flawless.
Having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, take
Bye.
it. Bye.
You too. Bye.